Thank you once again for joining us this afternoon. If you've just joined us, I see some new faces that just came in. The purpose of today is to celebrate love. Glamour magazine's February issue, which is currently on shelf, is themed the love issue. And on the cover, we featured Nandi and Zakes Madida, who were here earlier on. And they shared a bit of their journey, they took questions, and they had a chat with us about their relationship and the dynamics of the relationship, what makes it work, and offered some tips as well. We spoke to Oluetu and Neo Lishabane, digital entrepreneurs, CA, and the husband is, of course, also the bearer of a PH in Instagram husbandry. All right, so we're going to carry on with the program now, and we're going to have the last couple that's going to take the stage and have a conversation about their relationship and their love. And after that, at 2:15, Langa Mavuso will take to the stage and give us a musical performance. Please welcome Melinda and Adriaan. So when we think about a power couple, South African power couples, one of them for sure for us at Glamour is yourselves. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for being couple goals, I guess. For a lot of people, you're always inspiring with the content that you put out and just your story and sharing yourselves and who you are. Can you just take us through the whole story? Start at the beginning. When did you guys meet? How long have you guys been together?
I don't think you even know how long the story is.
A summarized story of your journey.
I think the funny thing is people always think Adriaan was Mr. South Africa and I was a Miss South Africa, and all of a sudden everything just came together and it's poof and it worked, and it's Barbie and Ken, and that's kind of where they place us and they're comfortable with that version of the story, and then they kind of move on. But our story goes back a very long time, actually.
Yeah, it's actually I think I should actually tell the story, because Melinda didn't even know I liked her.
I jumped in like at chapter 8 of our story.
More like chapter 9. So it dated back to varsity, my first year in varsity. I can still remember I was one of those guys sitting at the back, looking at all the beautiful girls walking in with some of my friends. And there was this one girl that walked in and she caught my eye immediately, and I called my friend and said, "Hey, check, guy girl." And he looked at her and he said, "Yeah, she's nice." And I also said, "Wow, she's amazing." And needless to say, that was the motivation for me to continue going to class.
The only one, yeah. Degree means nothing.
And yes, so one day after we wrote our test, I actually walked up and just waited before Melinda would hand down a test and hand it in, just to see her name. And then I saw her name, Melinda Bam. And that name became a household name in my life. 2008, I said to all my friends, I was back then in Reyes, I said to them, Melinda Bam is going to be my wife one day. And all of my friends laughed at me, teased me. Everybody thought I was crazy, because one of the guys that actually went to Reyes with me went to school with Melinda, and he was telling me that Melinda has got this guy and they've been together for 7 years. But having said that, that didn't put me down. So I just kept on saying she's going to be my wife one day. So in 2009, I wrote down the very first time, I wrote down, Melinda Bam, doiki, 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 I'm going to be married to you. And I've still got that Melinda actually came across that diary, that thing that I wrote down. And I skipped something, but I just want to say this. One day, 2 weeks after I saw her for the first time, my sister, I picked her up after church, and she said to me that she saw the perfect girl for me. And before she said anything else, I said, "Who, Melinda?" And she looked at me and she said, no ways. And that was Melinda back then. And she was introduced to Melinda through somebody else. And I was a secret stalker for about 4 years.
The cutest kind, okay? Stalkers aren't good looking. Stalkers are creepy. You are just
I used to be very
secret
creepy
admirer.
back then. Anyway, secret admirer maybe, because I just watched all this stuff on Facebook, and all of a sudden I realized that I should make friends with some of her friends. I had a very, very interesting story about one of her friends. So I started becoming mates with him, and just for one reason, to meet Melinda. And started being mates with him, I started going out with him, and then I started asking about Melinda. But in the beginning, I pretended to not know nothing about this Melinda chick. And he just said he's got this beautiful friend and whatever, and I should meet her one day, but just being friends. And I said to him, okay, it's cool, I'll meet her. Just in the meantime, my heart's like, oh yes, I'm going to meet this girl that I've been following for 4 years. And he said, okay, come with us to a class at a yoga class. And back then, I still played rugby, so I was at the Vodacom Bulls. I was quite big, very muscular, so back then, obviously. And then I pitched at this class, and I think that's where Melinda should tell the story further, because she...
I think I fell in love when I saw a 94-kilogram man doing a downward dog just to meet me. So no, but I think that's where we met the very first time. But the part that really mattered the most to me was when we first locked eyes and when we first met. I realized that there was something different about him, and we saw each other non-stop for about the next 3 weeks. And I was Miss SA back then, and I wasn't supposed to be in a public relationship, which made it very tricky. So we saw each other quite secretly, and most of our relationship was formed on the base of just having an honest conversation, either at my parents' house or at his house. And we asked each other all the questions that mattered most, just to kind of cut through all the crap, cut through the games that people play when they meet each other, and it's who do you know, who are your friends, what do they say about you, and actually just get to know that person for yourself. And I remember the one day he wasn't at his apartment, and I was snooping around, as girls do, and I opened his one drawer and I found his diary, and when I saw his diary dating back to 2008, when I was still in varsity, and I read that he actually prayed for me. He said that the Lord will protect me, that I'll make the right friends, that I'll make wise decisions in life, and that he'll protect me even if he may never meet me. I knew that he was the husband that I was looking for in my life, and I just stopped looking, and I knew, okay, this is the man that I want to marry. Yeah.
Can you tell us about the key values that sustain and keep your relationship? You talked about the foundation of God, for one. You prayed for Melinda as far back, before she even knew that you were praying for her, for example. Yeah. What are the other values and solid foundation that you think your relationship is based on?
Yeah, definitely God's first, without a doubt. Also, something that's very important for both of us is integrity, honesty, and transparency. I think every single relationship needs that. If you don't have that, your relationship will not be built on a solid rock. So being transparent with your partner and being honest to yourself, not necessarily only to your partner. I think a lot of people these days, they make the mistake when they do make a mistake, they try and justify it. And that's one of the things that I was brought up to realize your own mistakes. And in our relationship, to be honest to yourselves, it's one of the key things in our relationship, definitely.
I think another value that's really important to us is just to be able to rely on each other, to know that you really work together as a team. That if you sign up for this thing called marriage, and if you want to do life together, then you have to be comfortable and confident enough that you feel in your vulnerability, you are so protected and loved by this person that they will always make sure that you are covered and that you are protected, and that your name is actually safe in their mouth, that you won't be discussed, your weaknesses won't be exploited, your weaknesses won't be taken for granted or pinpointed, but that you can really feel safe in your weaknesses and rely on each other's strengths to pull you up in life. And that's the one thing that I think has really made us an incredible team, is we know what our own weaknesses are, and we're fine with that. I know that I am a very time-consuming, petty person at most, and I know that I can be an incredibly feisty person, but I know that Adriaan is patient and that he is enduring and that he's kind and that he'll hear me out even though I'm repeating myself for the 10th time. and that we are fine with each other's weaknesses and try and see how we can cover that and stand in the gap for one another.
All right. What fun things do you guys do together? When you're able to make time to travel, to try a new restaurant, or to cook together, like what couple things do you guys do together to bond?
We do a lot of fun things together. I have to be honest with you. Sometimes
I feel like we play more than we actually work or take life too seriously.
Absolutely. I think you should not take life too serious. I think the things in life, you need to appreciate one another and to make quality time for each other. Luckily enough, our love languages are the same. So we want to spend quality time together, but we play hard, we work hard. Yeah. We enjoy nature, just to spend time in nature. We play golf, we travel, we love traveling.
He actually taught me to play golf, and then he had to grit his teeth when I had my first hole-in-one. And he's never had one, and then I had another, and then he still hasn't had one, and he's still the kind of man that will cheer me on, and he's like, shit, yeah. Melinda's got 2 hole-in-ones on a 36 handicap, how the hell does that happen? But I'm still happy for her. But yeah, we really play often, because I feel like couples try and make everything so heavy and serious, and yes, you have to have the important conversations, but you shouldn't forget that a relationship is not only there to be your partner and to do life with you, but to really make you enjoy whatever it is that you do in life. So to play, to make jokes, to have fun together. And sometimes it is to just try and be impulsive about certain things. We don't have kids yet, so we can have the luxury of being spontaneous. And I remember the one evening Adriaan was working late and he was on his laptop, and I know by now that if I don't take him out of the country, that thing will never be shut down. So I said to him, I want to go somewhere. It's almost our first wedding anniversary, and I want to feel like a princess. And I was like, okay, well, if you can find something that's going to make you feel like a princess, then we can go there. So here I was at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to find a castle and that we can go to, because, I mean, that's such a normal thing to look for at 2 o'clock in the morning. And we booked our accommodation and we booked our flights, and 2 days later we went off to Germany and we stayed in a castle and we played hide and seek in this thing, and we actually still play hide and seek. I made him look for me for about an hour and a half the other day in our house when I was lying inside our couch, nearly weeing my pants because Adriaan is starting to look in our drawers and where we put our cutlery, and I was like, why are you even looking there? Thank you. But and we really play. We celebrate the fact that we can be grown up and we have businesses, but we feel like kids when we're together, and I hope that will never change.
I think lastly on my end, before I take some questions from the audience, some relationships break down because they don't know how to resolve conflict. What strategies, what tools, what tips can you share with the audience, and how do you deal with each other when we're arguing about something? How do you resolve conflict as a couple?
Absolutely, Asanda. I think resolving conflict is one of the key things of a successful marriage. Everybody's going to have conflict. It's unnatural to not have conflict. So
some more than others.
Especially if you're passionate. I think myself and Melinda, we both we know what we want in life. We are definitely both stubborn, but stubborn can be a good thing. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. So for us as well, to resolve conflict is sometimes a challenge, and it's just one of those things. And I think we actually came to a point a year or two ago where we said that you from a different upbringing, I'm from a different upbringing. I'm more the black and white type of guy. Sometimes too black and white. I don't always have grace. So I think you need to find each other in the middle and understand that your partner or your spouse is different from you. You don't need to force something down on them to be the same as you. And that's something I've learned from Melinda, obviously. For me, it's either right or wrong. It cannot be in the middle.
And in terms of, I think an important thing that couples always need to consider is the fact that just because you come from different upbringings, it means that your frame of reference and your approach in life is completely different. And I mean, I came from a family of strong women where we are very opinionated, and I mean, we had a slightly dysfunctional setup, so we were kind of dysfunctional before the Kardashians actually made it popular and made a career out of it. But when I came from my household and Adriaan came from this beautiful suburban household with 3 sisters and a mum and a dad where life just actually looked easy and amazing, I found myself almost feeling hard done by the fact that he doesn't understand because he hasn't been there. And we realized that we so often try to resolve conflict by justifying the way our approach is. And we decided that regardless of where I come from, regardless where you come from, we need to find a new way of doing things, a new way that's going to work for us, and that we can stop certain things generationally with us, and that we'll start a new way of doing things, a new way of resolving conflict, a new way of talking through things and have better communication, and also a new way of saying, listen, okay, this is becoming a little bit too heated, let's just take a break. I love you, you love me, let's leave it at that and then park that one and get back to that later. Because we don't have to agree on everything, we're not the same person. And it's also giving each other the freedom to still be different and unique in a relationship and saying that that's okay. Not making it your mission, because often we as women also think that as soon as God has given you this individual, you're like, yes, he's given me something that I can mold and make what I want. And that's not what it is. It's embracing who that person is and acknowledging the differences, and rather than fighting over them, seeing what the benefits are in actually embracing each other for who we really are. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much, guys. A question from the audience.
So what would you advise single women before the one comes, before marriage comes? How do you navigate, and how did you navigate singlehood before you got married?
I think, and I speak for myself, and that's something that I can only do because, I mean, that's what worked for me, is understanding that a lot of people will say that there are many fish in the sea and that you shouldn't be too particular and that you shouldn't discard certain qualities and people because you have such a wide variety to choose from. But the fact of the matter is I believe that there's one perfect one for you. So you can be particular about it. And if you're going to have your qualities be that you're looking for so wide and so broad, how are you going to recognize the one that is actually so perfect in every single way when you meet him? And it's also having the focus not on looking at what kind of perfect or partner is perfect for you, but more investing in yourself as an individual so that when you have that person, you're not going to be the one that's going to screw this up. And that you can, rather than looking for the perfect partner, focus on becoming the perfect partner first. The one that is willing to love unconditionally, the one that's willing to give more, the one that is willing to go the extra mile, to have grace, to overlook certain areas, and to make sure that you are willing to build at something. Because we've got a hopelessly self-centered society where everything is about what can I get, and can you do this, and I want this, and I want that. And yes, you're allowed to have that, but give it more thought on who you are, what you bring into the table. Are you the kind of person that you would want to be in a relationship with? And if you are, then you can start being particular about the kind of person that you will spend the rest of your life with. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents worth.